Are you planning on, or maybe not even that, maybe you're just thinking about buying a home? Because if you are, just one mistake could potentially cost you thousands of dollars. Or worse, maybe even a shot at your dream home. In this video, I'm going to break down 7 of the most common home buying mistakes that I see so many people making, and believe it or not, it's not just first-time home buyers that are making them either. And it just might surprise you how often I see the 5th mistake on this list happen. Okay, so the first one up, and listen, you're probably gonna think, come on, Jose, that's only one that's gonna be made by a first-time home buyer. No, believe it or not, this is one I've seen made by everybody, both first-time home buyers as well as seasoned home buyers, and that is, yeah, it's not just first-time home buyers that don't think about this one, but just like with the sales price, closing costs are negotiable too. Meaning this, the actual dollar amount of the closing cost, I mean like for instance, the escrow fees, the appraisal fees, lender fees, I mean, those are what they are. I mean, those aren't necessarily negotiable. What I mean by negotiable is, are you able to get the seller to help contribute toward your closing costs?
I didn't even think about negotiating.
Don't get me wrong, this is definitely not something that you're going to be able to get every single time with every single seller. But some may be willing to negotiate on it, and of course, yes, some may not. It used to be that the seller of the house, they contributed toward the cost of both the listing agent for their house as well as the buyer's agent. Of course, there was a little bit more involved in it, just that. I mean, all of that was factored into the price. But here's the thing though, as of August of 2024, that changed. Now, the cost of the buyer's agent, that is now the responsibility of a buyer. However, even with that said though, I am still seeing that in most cases, most sellers are still basically doing what they've always done, covered the cost of the buyer's agent. In fact, and this is just my opinion, but I do see that there are definitely benefits to a seller to do that, to contribute toward a buyer's agent. And honestly, I am still seeing that many home sellers, they are doing that. They are still doing what they've done in the past, and that is contributed toward the buyer's agent. My point here though is that if you don't at least try inquiring about it, try negotiating it, then the answer is always no. Don't make that mistake. Hey, real quick, if this is your first time here, my name's Jose and I am your SoCal realtor. If you are thinking about trying to buy or sell a home, don't hesitate to reach out. My team and I, we've helped many people just like you, and we're here and ready to help you with your real estate needs too. So hey, enough about that, let's go ahead and get back to the video. Another mistake that I do see a lot, and actually, if we're being honest, it kind of ties in with the first mistake we just covered, and that is, I know what you're probably thinking. All right, Jose, what's the difference? Honestly, the differences are probably a little subtle. The most common example of a concession, I would say, would be under the category of repairs. I mean, let's say you have a home inspection done to the house, or at least I hope you're going to have a home inspection done. But if there's a few repair needs that your home inspector found that maybe they're just, these ones over here, these are a little more serious, or maybe just a little more concerning than anything else that the inspector found, then yeah, you're absolutely allowed to negotiate those with the seller. Keep in mind, at least here in California anyway, I should put it that way, but keep in mind that all repair needs are negotiable, not necessarily required, unless it's like a state or a lender required repaired. I mean, those are required, but for everything, like 90+% of what a home inspector might find in that house, while not required, they are 100% negotiable. Another example of a concession might be, for instance, if the house you're looking at, let's say it has solar panels, well, is the seller willing to pay off those solar panels at the close of escrow? I mean, listen, there's any number of examples that could fall under a concession. My point though is just this, everything is negotiable. Now, I didn't say that they have to or even will agree to everything, but everything's negotiable. Another mistake that I see too many times, and yes, this one is primarily a first-time buyer mistake, but that is, actually, this one could be a mistake even for an experienced home buyer. Believe it or not, you may still be able to get down payment assistance even if you're not a first-time home buyer.
Now we're talking!
There are still requirements for that. The point though is that there are some programs that you may still be able to qualify for. But I am amazed and honestly a little sad at just how many people are not aware of down payment assistance programs, and honestly there's quite a few actually. In fact, after you finish this video, if you look through my channel, I have a few videos where I talk about some of the more popular programs in quite a bit of detail. But do you realize it is possible to buy a home with zero down payment out of pocket at the time of purchase. Again, if you want more details on these programs, I would go through my channel. In fact, I would do a search up the keyword down payment. It should pull them all up for you. But if you could buy a home with no money or little money out of pocket, would that make things a little bit easier to buy a home? And I venture to say for most people, the answer is probably yes. Here's another one I see a lot, and that is when you don't look at everything, meaning existing pre-owned homes and new construction homes, then yeah, I mean, you're really limiting yourself. And I totally get it. I mean, one or the other may not necessarily be the preference for some people. But if you don't at least check, then you're really limiting yourself for what there is for you. Listen, both have their pros, both have their cons. I mean, we can make an entire video on just that subject right there. Maybe that is a video we should make. Do me a favor, just to kind of gauge the interest. I mean, I don't want to make a video that no one's interested in, but do me a favor if you would. Let me know in the comments below if that's something that you'd be interested in. My thoughts, though, are explore it all. Weigh the pros and the cons of both, of course. I mean, it's your home. You have to go in the direction that makes the most sense for you. But again, my thoughts are explore it all. Now, what's another mistake I see too much? It really is almost impossible to find the perfect home, especially if you have a long list of needs and requirements for that home. Sure, it's possible to find a home that has all the needs or all the must-haves, but that's kind of rare. It's kind of the unicorn. But here's what I mean by this mistake. Let's say you're out there looking at homes, and you're looking at homes, and you found a home over here, and it has pretty much every one of the needs and every one of the must-haves. It's checking all the boxes, except for one thing. It doesn't have those granite countertops in the kitchen that you're looking for. Is that something that can be added later? Sure, absolutely. But if that's the one thing, that's the one reason why you're gonna pass up on that house, odds are you're not gonna find another house that even came that close to checking all the boxes. Or let's say you did. Let's say you found the unicorn out there that checked every single box and it had those granite countertops. Guess how many other people are looking for that unicorn? So now if you decide, hey, let's put an offer on this house, guess how many other people are planning to put an offer on that house? So there's a very good chance you could potentially end up paying more for this house than you would have had you just bought this one and put the granite countertops in yourself. Another mistake I see a lot is, hear me out though, I'm not saying that if you find a home for sale at $600,000, then you must. Absolutely, you must make your offer for $600,000. What I am saying though, that is if you find a home for $600,000, yeah, I wouldn't come in with an offer for $520,000.
Get that out of here.
Could you try offering something a little bit lower and get it? Sure, absolutely. But just keep in mind, every situation is going to be a little bit different, meaning you might have a house over here for $600,000, offer something a little bit lower, and still be able to get it, whereas you might find a house over here for $600,000, but if you want to get this one, you're going to have to come in a little bit higher. Your agent should be able to help advise you on which one's which, meaning this one you might be able to get if you come in a little bit lower, but this one, if you want it, you're going to have to come in with a little bit stronger offer. But if you do decide to go that route, I'm going to come in a little bit lower, a couple things could come from that. The seller could look at it and say, it's close enough, I just want to get the household, let's take their offer. Or they could look at that and say, let's make a counteroffer. Let's see if they'll come up to this much, and if they will, then yeah, we got a deal. But when you make a lowball offer, like I was saying just a moment ago, you make a $520,000 offer, it's a $600,000 house, you run the risk of offending that seller. Meaning, they could look at your offer, say, forget it, I'm rejecting it, they can go find another house. Speaking of an agent, a mistake I am seeing more and more here lately is, could you buy a home without an agent? Sure. Absolutely you could. And listen, don't let anybody tell you anything different. But would I? No, I wouldn't. And if you're thinking, well, Jose, why can't I just use the listing agent? I mean, they could help me with that, right? Yes. However, some states do allow for dual agency, meaning the same agent can be hired by both the seller and the buyer. Many states, though, don't allow for dual agency. California is one that does allow dual agency. But if you decide, well, Jose, I'm gonna buy the house, but I'm just gonna hire the listing agent to represent me. Well, here's the question I want to present to you. Who hired that agent first? This could lead to a possible conflict of interest. I mean, that agent, they were hired by the seller well before they ever met you. Now, if you say, well, don't worry about that one, Jose, I'm not going to hire the listing agent. I'll have them complete all the paperwork for me, but I'll represent myself. I'll negotiate for myself. Are you an experienced negotiator? Are you experienced in the full, complete process involved in purchasing a home? Because if you're not, or maybe you sort of have experience in that, listen, there's a real good chance it could end up costing you extra money. In fact, quite a bit extra actually. Or like I said back at the beginning, maybe even a shot at buying your dream home altogether. Of course, if you do have any questions at all, if maybe you are thinking about buying or selling a home, my contact information is below. Feel free to reach out. Otherwise, until then, we'll catch you on the next one.